Hey guys, welcome to probably my last video ever for Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, at least for the 1.1 version anyway. As some of you guys might know, I've officially retired from the game as a player, so this is probably going to be my last video. But even way before I decided to retire, there was always a little part of me that wanted to dish out one last Akihiko guide video. Though I never went through with it until now because back then the game was kinda dead. But now with the uprising of Ultimax on PC and more new players learning the game on PS3, I thought it'd be a pretty good time. And besides this video and one more little surprise I have planned, which is in collab with someone who I won't name at the moment, it's kinda like my parting gift to the community. Though this is kind of less of a guide and more of some tips and tricks newer Aki players might not know so well. So before I leave this game for good, I kind of just want to get these tools off my chest and, who knows, maybe pass on the torch to the next generation of Aki players that are coming up. Also real quick, apologies if I don't sound so clear or anything like that, because this is the first time I've ever done a voiceover for a guide before. So I'll try my best when I edit the video to boost up my mic or something. So yeah, let's get started. So the first thing I want to cover is a few of the fundamentals of Aki's movesets that either go overlooked or aren't used enough. Basic things like properties on certain moves. So for example, the first hit of Aki's DP is actually a true anti-air. And if you're crafty, maybe you can confirm off of it into a few ideas like this.
Good.
And that's just one idea. I'm sure if you lab enough, you can figure out confirms like converting into uppercut loops or a modified one more burst combo. Another small but heavily underappreciated tool is Aki's weave. If you hold the weave, you'll see that Aki slowly gains meter. Of course, the higher the cycle level, the faster the meter will gain. I cannot stress how many times this has come in clutch for me. There's been way too many matches where I'm just 4 SP shy from 50, which otherwise could grant me a Matsio deal. In those instances, I try to gain that meter if I can sneak in one good weave or a couple good weaves to gain that missing 4 SP. Let's see. Another couple buttons you might not know that you can hold down are your Persona buttons. With 5C, if you just tap it, Caesar comes out faster, but there's a longer recovery time. If you hold down 5C, Caesar comes out just a smidgen slower, but the recovery time is reduced. This is really just a subtle difference, but it definitely shows in higher level matches where that recovery time matters. 5D can also be held down, though this is more used for mind games if anything. Holding down 5D delays Caesar's magnet-like ability, but holding it down too long will just make him disappear. I personally don't really hold down 5D. I can really only imagine it being useful for setting up Oki or if your opponent's delay teching or something niche like that. Oh, and fun fact, when 5D is active, it has full projectile super armor. Do note that lasers will go through him, but single hit projectiles will be nullified. One extremely underappreciated tool Aki has is Thunder Fists. Aside from the obvious paralyze-inducing status effect it grants you, if you ever get paralyzed yourself, doing Thunder Fists will cure you of paralyzation. And this is pretty helpful in matchups like against Kanji, say for example, who thrives against opponents who can't really move. As well, Thunder Fist can be used as a pseudo one more cancel when one more cancel isn't really an option. So namely, when your DP gets blocked. Thunder Fist immediately after DP without any delay will make your DP mostly safe. What else? B version of parry and EX parry gives you meter. Although I wouldn't spam this as much, it's really just nice to know that it gives you meter against stray hits or projectiles. Though, if you are cheeky enough and your opponent is constantly throwing out hitboxes, you can occasionally parry one of these hits and grab some free meter. Kind of like saying to the opponent, hey, I'm not going to let you just throw these out for free. If you throw more of these out, you're just going to give me meter. Obviously though, as most of Aki's tools, if you spam it or make it predictable, you're definitely going to be punished. And just like weaving, the higher the cyclone meter, the greater the meter gain. Last but definitely not least, there's one tool I never see anyone use, and that's the air unblockable portion of Aki's uppercut super. So I'll elaborate more on the uses of this later in the video, but for now, just know that Aki's first hit on all his uppercut supers is air unblockable. Okay, real talk here. I'm about to lecture a whole lot of you out there. But in all my years playing Aki, I have constantly seen this pressure string being spammed. Please, for the love of God, don't constantly use this. It's so punishable and it's so very much reactive. It's mainly only a net play strategy, and there are tons of other amazing tricky pressure strings out there for Aki, and this one just ain't it, Chief. If you ever watched me use it, or seen me use a similar pressure string in one of my videos, it's only because I feel confident that it'll work, and I know the risks I'm taking in trying to make it work in that exact situation. But if you're not at least 90% sure your opponent is going to fall for it, or if you don't truly understand the risks behind this particular pressure string, please don't make it a habit. I don't want to get too much into it, but just know that Aki's whiffed grab is fatal recovery. Furthermore, Duck D is hella slow, and if you get hit during Duck D, you're essentially giving your opponent a free counter hit or worse. So don't do it. Do something else. Anything else. Something related to Rekka pressure into Duck C grab, or Rekka pressure into Weave D for bait, or EX Duck side swap. Speaking about EX Duck, it's commonly known for its side swap capabilities, but it's also worth noting that each level of EX Duck has its own range. The higher the cyclone level, the greater the range Aki can use to duck behind his opponent. In higher level play, a lot of opponents who are accustomed to Aki can react to EX Duck's meter usage flash and block the cross-up on reaction. If you know Aki's EX Duck range, it is entirely possible to fake cross-up. So let's talk about a really good way Aki can open up his opponent. Everyone knows Aki can string together Rekkas when he has his opponent locked into block stun. The typical string usually consists of Rekkas like Sonic A into Sonic A into Hook A into whatever mix up. A more experienced opponent will without a doubt be quite familiar to typical Akihiko pressure strings and know the rhythm of which you press these Rekkas during pressure. In fact, a lot of higher level players can easily instant block Aki's Sonics and Hooks and punish his attempted Rekka pressure with a DP following their instant block.
What's the matter?
One way to deal with this is to develop off-rhythm Rekka pressure. So what does that mean? It usually means that you need to stop pressing Rekkas in a usual, typical, and predictable rhythm. And it's usually achieved by slightly delaying your Rekkas in between each other. So, for instance, you can throw out a Kill Rush, then slightly delay your Sonic A and Hook A to make these Rekkas arrhythmic. This really helps with turning your opponent's instant blocking game into a guessing game that is definitely not favored to them. And sometimes, arrhythmic Rekkas can even catch mashers if the button they're mashing is not fast enough to beat out your Rekkas. Do this with high cyclone level Rekkas, and you might even be rewarded with a random fatal. Arrhythmic Rekka pressure definitely will require practice though, because the delays need to be ever so slight. Slow enough to get through an opponent's attempt to instant block, but fast enough to still be considered block string pressure. Okay, so we all know the universal way of baiting a blue burst is either jump cancel block, or one more cancel and block a blue burst. As shown earlier in this video, yet another tool Aki has to heavily bait a burst is to use parry version B or EX parry for that smug thumbs up. Some more fundamental moves that Aki has that I don't see many Akis use nowadays is his projectile invol moves like EX Sonic, EX Cork, and EX Weave. Sometimes you can even choose to armor through Blue Burst with EX Hook. EX Sonic is especially great because if you decide to use it and the bait fails, and then your opponent ends up blocking it. A blocked EX Sonic can lead to really nice frame traps for Aki. I believe Bars has a video covering this already on his channel, so you can go check that one out. EX Weave is a safe option because it grants distance away from your opponent, just in case he's matching buttons. If you EX Weave out of his burst range, you can time its Sonic B to follow up and continue juggling your opponent after the burst hitbox is gone. EX Hook is a huge aggressive callout button that armors through both the burst and mashing. EX Cork is a good option when you want to secure big damage. Sometimes the opponent will want to burst right when you're about to cork to ensure that their burst doesn't get baited. If you use EX Cork, you'll just invul right through their burst and hit them in the face. The damage off of a raw EX Cork might not be too high, but securing damage is vital when the opponent wants to deny your match-winning combo. You could maybe even add a Weave D before the EX Cork for a more rewarding callout. Last but not least, I wanted to mention something I see no one do. A lot of people forget that normal Weave in Duck has upper body invul. And that means if your opponent bursts high enough while Aki is on the ground, it's very much possible for Aki to just hold Weave down on reaction and weave through the burst hitbox. I like to set up Weave burst bait specifically because it's kind of like an option select for me. If they burst, I invul through it, and if they don't, I'll just continue juggling my combo. Here's an example of how I set up using either high level Sonic B or EX Sonic. I primarily use those to set it up because it launches opponents even higher into the air.
What's the matter?
The most common resets used with Aki are grab resets, which are really similar to the whole duck into grab tech used in opening up an opponent during block strings. The second most common reset technique is probably EX Duck, as it crosses up an opponent while keeping Cyclone Meter. The third most well-known technique for resets is to just hold down that hook B option and use it as an unblocked. And, well, there's really nothing wrong with using any of these three common reset tools. The only thing I would encourage Aki players to do is to explore and learn about more creative ways to use these tools, even if they are common. For example, one way you can really trick up an opponent is to use EX Duck and then immediately grab afterwards. That way the opponent must not only be ready for the cross-up, but has to also be ready for the grab mix-up too. And all of that happens in an instant. Unblockable Hook B can be used when an opponent is right outside of Awakening, so that when Awakening activates, the screen flickers with animations and makes the unblockable a little harder to see. Another way to use it is during your auto combo. Most people let their guard down when they see an auto combo come out because, well, the combo is automatic. They don't expect it to drop midway because of how easy it is to just mash A. But of course, don't abuse it. Try dropping the auto combo and charging up that hook B so that when they tech, they get guard broken. Though, just so you know, the specific setup can be trumped by reversal options. There's a ton of variations to mix up your resets, really. So I encourage you guys to explore the lab and figure out the different options you have as Aki to reset your opponent using these common techniques. A lesser used reset that understandably isn't as popular is Aki's Simple Sweep. At high levels, this can really be rewarding, especially if you super cancel into an uppercut. And well, with the right amount of resources, you could even one more cancel or one more burst after your super to continue your combo thanks to a simple sweep reset. Finally, we come full circle to my favorite reset, Aki's Air Unblockable Uppercut Super. So the goal of this is to get the opponent to block in the air while you're juggling them, and the instant they block in the air and they're in range of the first hit of your uppercut, you can super. Similar to the sweep into uppercut super reset, your combo reset potential depends on your resources. What I like to do is I juggle the opponent in the air and then purposely drop the combo. And then when I do so, I observe what they do out of wake up. A common habit for players caught in a combo is to just hold back and tech. So if they do that while they're being juggled in the corner, it's perfect to set up the unblockable super. This isn't the only way you can use this reset, but here's an example.
One, two, uppercut. Here's everything I got. Let's go, Persona!
So there you have it. These are most of the tips, tricks, and gimmicks I never was able to properly pass on until now. Do with it what you will, and I hope the next generation of Persona 4 Arena players have fun with this game. Even though I am retired, guys, and probably not going to post up any more videos relating to this game, I still gotta say, I really love this game to bits, and it's probably my favorite fighting game that I've ever played in my life. And honestly, I hope everyone experiences the same joy I had when I played this game. So, until then guys, see you around.